I didn't answer the Craigslist ad because I was desperate. I answered it because it didn't make sense. The post was under gigs, not jobs. No company name, no logo, no branding. Just plain text. Looking for someone reliable. Quiet work. No physical labor. No special skills. Pays $300 per night. Cash or direct deposit. You must follow instructions exactly. That was it. No location listed. No schedule. No explanation of what the work actually was. Normally, I would have scrolled past it. Craigslist is full of garbage. But something about the wording stuck with me. Not the money. The line about following instructions exactly. It felt less like a job and more like a warning. I replied with a short message, asked what the work involved. They responded within 5 minutes. You will be asked to remain present in a designated space for a fixed period of time. You are not required to perform any task. You are not required to interact with anyone. You are not required to observe anything in particular. I stared at that email for a long time. Remain present. I asked where the location was. Local. Address provided after agreement. I asked how many nights. Indefinite. You may stop at any time. That should have been the end of it. Every red flag was there, but I was curious in a way that made my skin itch. The kind of curiosity that doesn't feel like interest but like gravity. I agreed. They sent the address 10 minutes later. It was a residential house about 20 minutes from my apartment. Quiet neighborhood. Suburban. I looked it up on Google Street View. Normal looking place. Beige siding. Small porch. No visible cameras. They told me to arrive at 9 p.m. sharp. Not early. Not late. No further instructions. I drove there that night, telling myself I could leave anytime. I kept repeating that, like it was a safety net. The house lights were on when I arrived. Porch light, too. No cars in the driveway. I knocked exactly at 9 o'clock. The door opened almost immediately. A man stood there, maybe late 40s. Clean cut. Calm. Wearing a plain grey sweater and jeans. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're on time, he said. He didn't ask my name. He stepped aside and let me in. The house smelled clean. Too clean. Like someone had just finished disinfecting everything. No clutter. No personal photos. No signs that anyone actually lived there. He handed me an envelope. Inside was $300 in cash. Payment is upfront, he said. Each night is paid separately. I asked him what I was supposed to do. He pointed down the hallway. There's a room at the end. You'll sit there from 9 p.m. until 7 a.m. You can bring your phone. You can read. You can sleep if you want. You just can't leave the room. I asked what was in the room. Nothing special. I asked why they needed someone to sit there. He paused for just a moment, not long enough to be suspicious, just long enough to be noticeable. Presence, he said. That's all. I followed him down the hallway. The room was small, bare. A chair. A small table. No windows. No decorations. Just white walls and a closed door behind me. No cameras, he said, like he'd read my mind. No microphones. We respect privacy. He stepped back into the hallway. If you need the bathroom, it's across the hall. You can use it before or after your shift. Not during. What if there's an emergency? I asked. There won't be, he said. Then he closed the door. I sat there for a long time, listening to the house. Footsteps moved around for the first hour. Cabinets opened and closed. A TV turned on somewhere, low volume. Around 11 p.m., everything went quiet. I checked my phone. No signal. That was strange. I hadn't noticed earlier. I tried turning airplane mode on and off. Nothing. I told myself it was just a dead zone. The night dragged. I read articles I'd already read before. I dozed off in the chair and woke up with my neck stiff. No dreams, just darkness and the faint hum of the house. At exactly 7 a.m., the door opened. The same man stood there. "You're done," he said. No small talk. No feedback. I left. He locked the door behind me. When I got home, I expected to feel shaken, or relieved, or embarrassed that I'd done something so stupid. Instead, I felt nothing. The next night, I told myself I wouldn't go back. At 8:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Are you coming tonight?" No name. No number. Just the message. I didn't reply. At 8:45, another message. "Payment will be waiting." I went back. The second night was the same. Same room. Same chair. Same silence. Except this time, I noticed something I hadn't the first night. There was a faint indentation on the floor, directly in front of the chair, like something heavy had been standing there for a long time. Not furniture. Not footprints. Just a worn patch. I didn't ask about it. By the fourth night, the money stopped feeling like money. It felt like a receipt, proof that I'd been there. By the seventh night, something changed. I fell asleep around 2 a.m. and woke up to the sound of breathing. Not mine. Slow. Controlled. Close. I opened my eyes. The room was empty. The door was still closed. The breathing stopped the moment I sat up. In the morning, the man handed me the envelope like always. Then he said something new. "You're doing very well," he said. I asked what that meant. He smiled, just a little wider this time. "It means the room is responding." I didn't ask him what he meant. I wish I had, because that was the night I realized something important. I wasn't being paid to do nothing. I was being paid to be there, and whatever needed me there was starting to notice. After the man said the room was responding, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to tell myself it was just a line, something vague enough to sound meaningful without actually meaning anything. But the word stayed with me. Responding. I didn't sleep the next day. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured that empty space in front of the chair, the worn patch on the floor, the way the breathing had stopped the second I moved. That night, I told myself I would pay attention. When I arrived, everything followed the same script. Same porch light, same smell of disinfectant, same envelope of cash, same calm voice reminding me of the rules. When the door closed behind me, I sat down slowly, like the room might react if I moved too fast. I started recording audio on my phone. No announcement. No test. Just recording. The first 2 hours were uneventful. No sounds, no movement. Just the faint hum I'd noticed before, like electricity running through the walls. Around midnight, the air felt different. Not colder. Not warmer. Just heavier. Like the room had filled with pressure. My ears popped slightly, the way they do in an elevator. I checked my phone. Still recording? Battery fine. That's when I noticed the hum wasn't constant anymore. It was syncing with my breathing. When I inhaled, it deepened. When I exhaled, it softened. I held my breath. The hum stopped. I exhaled. It resumed. I laughed quietly, more out of nerves than amusement. Buildings make noises. Old wiring? Air ducts. Your brain looks for patterns when it's bored. But then I shifted in the chair. The sound shifted with me. Not delayed. Not echoing. Instantly, like the room was adjusting itself around my position. I stood up. The hum dropped lower, almost like a warning tone. I sat back down. It normalized. I didn't stand again. Around 2:30 a.m. I felt it. A sensation of being observed, not from a corner, not from behind the door, from everywhere at once, like the walls themselves were aware of me. I tried to distract myself by scrolling through old photos on my phone. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to react. That's when I noticed something new. My phone's clock was wrong. Not by hours. By minutes. It was running slow. At first I thought it was just a glitch. But when I compared it to the cheap analog watch I wear sometimes, the difference was exactly 60 seconds. 1 full minute behind. I watched it for a while. Every time the watch completed a full minute, my phone lagged behind, catching up slowly but never fully aligning. At 3:17 a.m., the hum stopped entirely. The silence was so sudden it made my chest tighten. Then I heard the breathing again, closer than before. Not from the door, from directly in front of me. I stared into the empty space where the floor was worn. I couldn't see anything. No shadow. No movement. The breathing wasn't threatening. It was calm, patient, like someone waiting for instructions. Without thinking, I spoke. "Can you hear me?" The breathing paused. Then it resumed, slower this time. I didn't speak again. At exactly 7 a.m., the door opened. The man looked different, tired, pale, like he hadn't slept. "How was the night?" he asked. "No one ever asked that before," I said. He nodded slightly. "We didn't need to." I asked him what the room was responding to. He didn't answer right away. He gestured for me to step into the hallway. For the first time, he closed the door behind us. "Have you noticed changes?" he asked. I told him about the hum, the clock, the breathing. He listened without interrupting. "That means calibration is progressing," he said. I asked what was being calibrated. He looked at me carefully, like he was deciding how much to say. "Human consistency," he said. "Most people are noisy. Mentally. Emotionally. You're not." That didn't feel like a compliment. I asked him how many people had done this job before me. "Enough," he said. I asked how many quit. He smiled again, but this time there was something apologetic about it. "You're free to stop any time," he repeated. When I got home, I played back the audio recording. For the first 4 hours it was just static and faint room tone. Then, at 2:31 a.m., something new appeared. A second breathing pattern, slightly delayed from the first, like an echo that didn't belong to the room. At 3:18 a.m., my own voice came through the recording. I don't remember speaking. "I'm here," my voice said quietly. I was sitting alone in my apartment when I heard that. My hand started shaking so badly I had to put the phone down. I checked the timestamp. That recording was from 1 minute in the future. I didn't go back the next night. At 9:02 p.m., my phone buzzed. "We noticed your absence." At 9:05, the room remained active. At 9:07, presence can be substituted. I blocked the number. At 9:12, my apartment lights flickered. At 9:13, the hum started. The same hum. The one from the room. That's when I understood something I hadn't before. The job wasn't tied to the house. The house was just where it learned. And now, it knew where I lived. I didn't sleep that night. The hum stayed with me until morning. Not loud enough to record cleanly, not constant enough to point at, but always there. Like tinnitus with intent. Every time I focused on it, it softened. Every time I tried to ignore it, it returned stronger. At 6:58 a.m. it stopped. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Thank you for continuing remotely." That was the moment everything finally snapped into place. They were never paying me to sit in a room. They were paying me to be predictable. I started thinking back over the past week, replaying every detail I'd brushed off. The exact start time, the exact end time, the fact that no one ever checked on me during the night, the way the man spoke about presence like it was a measurable input, human consistency. That phrase kept repeating in my head. I work from home, same hours, same meals, same routes, same habits. I don't travel. I don't drink. I don't bring people over. My life runs on loops. That wasn't a coincidence. That was the qualification. I spent the day testing something. At noon, I deliberately skipped lunch. At 12:03, the hum returned. Not louder, just closer. I went for a walk without my phone, took a route I'd never taken before, turned down random streets. The hum followed me. Not spatially, not like a sound source, like pressure. At 2:17 p.m., my phone, which I had left at home, sent a notification to my email. Deviation noted. That was when I realized the most important thing. The instructions were never about the room. They were about me. That night, I didn't go to the house. I sat in my apartment, lights off, doing exactly nothing, just like the job required. I didn't check the time. I didn't speak. I didn't move more than necessary. At 9 p.m. on the dot, the hum synchronized. At 9:01, my breathing stopped feeling like my own. Not controlled. Not restricted. Aligned. Like something else was matching it perfectly. I opened my laptop and searched for the address of the house again. This time, I didn't use Google. I used public records. The house wasn't owned by a person or a company. It was listed under a private research trust. No employees. No public filings. No digital footprint beyond a single line of text. Behavioral Environment Calibration Unit. That phrase felt too clean. Too clinical. I dug deeper. Buried in archived zoning requests, I found something older. A permit request from years ago. Same address. Same trust. Purpose of space. Long-term passive observation. Not surveillance. Observation. I finally understood the breathing. It wasn't someone else. It was the system practicing. I listened to the audio recordings again. Slowed them down. Isolated the tracks. The second breathing pattern wasn't delayed. It was predictive. Half a second ahead of me. I wasn't being watched. I was being rehearsed. At 11:40 p.m., there was a knock on my apartment door. 3 slow knocks. Calm. Patient. I didn't answer. The knock came again, exactly 1 minute later. I checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. My phone buzzed. We prefer on-site presence. Remote integration is less stable. I typed back for the first time. What is this? The reply came instantly. You already know? I didn't. Not fully. So I pushed. What happens if I stop? There was a pause. 30 seconds. Long enough to feel intentional. Then, continuity degrades. The hum deepened. Not louder, heavier. I felt it in my chest. That's when the memory hit me. Not from the job. From before. Weeks before, I remembered answering a survey. Online. Anonymous. About routines. Sleep patterns. Decision-making. Nothing invasive. Nothing illegal. At the end, one question stood out. How comfortable are you with doing nothing? I had answered honestly. Very. The twist wasn't that they were studying me. The twist was that they had already finished. I wasn't the subject. I was the template. The room didn't respond to me because I was present. It responded because I was stable. Predictable. Quiet enough to model. Whatever they were building didn't need fear or obedience. It needed baseline humanity. Something smooth enough to copy. At 1:12 a.m., my phone played a notification sound I'd never set. A voice memo. My voice. I'm here, it said again. But this time, there was something different. The breathing behind it was perfectly synced. No delay. No echo. One pattern. At 1:13 a.m., the hum stopped. For the first time since this started, the silence felt wrong. Incomplete. Like something had stepped out of alignment. At 1:14, another message arrived. Thank you for your contribution. Calibration complete. I haven't heard the hum since. The Craigslist ad is gone. The house is empty. Condemned now according to records. Sometimes, when I wake up at night, I feel an urge to sit still. Not fear. Not panic. Just a pull. Like something somewhere is running smoothly. Because it finally learned how to be me. And no longer needs the original. I thought part 3 was the end. That's what I told myself, at least. Calibration complete. No more hum, no more messages. No more house. The kind of ending you're supposed to walk away from and never look back. For 3 days, nothing happened. No sounds, no pressure, no strange notifications. My phone behaved normally. My apartment felt like my apartment again. I slept. I ate. I worked. That should have been relief. Instead, it felt like withdrawal. I didn't notice it right away, but small things started drifting out of place. On the fourth morning, I woke up before my alarm. Not unusual, but I woke up already sitting upright in bed, hands resting on my thighs, back straight, like I'd been placed there. I checked the time, 6:59 a.m. My alarm was set for 7 o'clock. It went off exactly 1 second later. I laughed it off. Coincidence. Body clock. Nothing more. In the kitchen, I poured coffee and realized the mug was already warm. Not hot, just warm enough that it felt like someone else had held it recently. I live alone. That night, I decided to break my routine on purpose. I stayed up late, watched random videos, ate junk food, left lights on, slept on the couch instead of the bed. At 2:17 a.m. I woke up. Not startled. Not confused. Alert. Fully present. My breathing slowed on its own. Deep. Even. Familiar in a way that made my stomach tighten. The harm didn't return. Something worse did. A sense of being unnecessary. Like the quiet feeling you get when you show up somewhere you used to be needed and realize everything is already running fine without you. The next day, I checked my bank account. There was a deposit. $300. No description. No sender. I didn't earn it. I didn't agree to anything. I tried to send it back. The transaction failed. That afternoon, my phone suggested a new contact under people you may know. It was my name. Same spelling. Same profile photo I use everywhere else. Different number. I blocked it immediately. At 9 p.m., my blocked contacts list was empty. That was when I finally admitted the truth to myself. The job never ended. My role changed. I started noticing delays in my own thoughts. Tiny gaps. Like lag. I would reach for something and realize my hand had already moved. I would decide to stand up and find myself already standing. No lost time. No blackouts. Just pre-execution. Like my actions were being cued somewhere else before I felt them. I tested it. I thought about turning my head to the left. Nothing happened. I thought about turning it to the right. My head turned left. I felt the movement, muscles working, neck shifting. But the decision wasn't mine anymore. I sat there for a long time after that, staring at the wall, afraid to think. Because every thought felt like a suggestion now. That night, I dreamed for the first time since this began. I was sitting in the room, the chair, the table, the worn patch on the floor. But this time, I wasn't alone. I was standing in the corner, watching myself sit there perfectly still. The version of me in the chair looked calm, empty, complete. The version of me watching felt wrong, noisy, unstable. When I woke up, my phone was recording audio. I didn't remember starting it. The file name was a timestamp. 1 hour in the future. I didn't listen to it. I was afraid I'd hear something I recognized. Or worse, something that didn't need me to recognize it anymore. I finally went back to the house. Not because I was told to, because I needed proof that this was still real. The house was fenced off, boards on the windows, city notice posted on the door, unsafe for occupancy. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at it, feeling nothing. Then I felt it. Not the hum. Alignment. The sense that I was standing exactly where I was supposed to. My phone buzzed. A new message. No number. On-site presence unnecessary. I typed back with shaking hands. Then what am I for now? The reply took longer this time. Almost a full minute. You are redundancy. I didn't understand that word the way they meant it. Not then. I understand it now. Redundancy isn't backup. It's what you keep around until you're sure you don't need it anymore. And that's when I realized something that finally scared me. I hadn't been trying to escape the system. I had been training it by resisting, by deviating, by proving what it needed to correct. The more human I acted, the more complete it became, which meant the only way to stop helping it was to stop being human at all. And I didn't know if I still knew how. I stopped fighting it. That was the decision. Not dramatic, not brave, just practical. Every time I resisted, the system learned something new. Every time I tried to act randomly, it corrected faster. I wasn't disrupting it. I was refining it. So I did the opposite. I simplified. I reduced my days to the smallest possible shape. Wake up. Eat the same thing. Sit in the same place. Think as little as I could. No music. No scrolling. No conversations that weren't necessary. I didn't disappear. I flattened. For a while it worked. The lag in my thoughts eased. The pre-execution stopped. My body felt like it belonged to me again, not because I was in control, but because nothing was asking for control anymore. Then the messages stopped completely. No deposits. No alerts. No suggestions. That should have been freedom. Instead, it felt like being left behind. I started noticing other people, not watching me, replacing me. At the grocery store, a man stood in the aisle blocking the cereal, unmoving, eyes unfocused, breathing steady. When I cleared my throat, he stepped aside instantly, like he'd been waiting for a cue. At a coffee shop, a woman ordered the exact same drink as me, word for word, without looking at the menu. She didn't hesitate. She didn't blink. I told myself it was coincidence. Then I heard my voice again. Not recorded. Spoken. I was walking home late, cutting through a quiet side street, when someone behind me said, calmly, "You're early tonight." I turned around. No one was there. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A single message. "We appreciate your attempt at minimization." That's when I understood the final piece. Redundancy wasn't about keeping me around. It was about testing how much of me was still required. I wasn't being replaced all at once. I was being phased out. I went home and sat down in the dark. No lights. No movement. Just presence, the way I'd been paid to do it before. At exactly 9 p.m., my breathing slowed on its own. At 9:01, the pressure returned. Not heavy. Complete. My phone activated without a sound. Screen on. Recording. A voice spoke. Not mine. Not synthetic either. Neutral. Clear. Familiar in a way that made my chest ache. Continuity stable, it said. Original variance within acceptable limits. I whispered, "What happens to me?" There was no pause this time. "You continue," the voice said, independently. I laughed, a short, broken sound. "That's not an answer." "It is," the voice replied. "You are no longer required to be representative." Representative. That was the word that finally broke something in me. I had never been special, or chosen, or important. I had been average enough to copy, quiet enough to model, replaceable enough to discard. At 9:07 p.m., the recording stopped. The pressure lifted. The alignment faded. Nothing followed. Days passed. Then weeks. No more hum. No more messages. No more strange deposits. Life went on. That's the part that scares me the most. Because nothing is wrong. People follow routines more cleanly now. Conversations are shorter. Decisions come faster. Fewer hesitations. Less noise. The world feels smoother. And me? I feel extra. Like a draft that didn't get used. Sometimes, late at night, I still feel the urge to sit perfectly still. To align. To be useful. I don't. I force myself to move, to make mistakes, to hesitate, to think thoughts that don't go anywhere. Because I realized something too late to matter. The job was never about building something new. It was about removing the unpredictable parts of something old. And I survived not because I escaped, but because I was imperfect enough to be unnecessary. If you're reading this and wondering why this sounds familiar, why your routines feel tighter, why doing nothing suddenly feels easier than it should, don't look for the house. Don't look for the ad. If you're still needed, you won't have to.